Namaste, everyone. Welcome to the Blooming Lotus Healing channel. My name is Jikara, for those of you who don't know me, and I am a spiritual healing facilitator. And welcome, everyone. I see Vintage Vanities here already. Awesome. So excited to have y'all here. I was having trouble going live, so hopefully everyone can see me. So let me know in the comments if you can hear me and see me properly. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to take a moment just to drop into gratitude for those of you who are part of the Cosmic Light Activation group. I am so grateful for all of you. And I kind of wanted to just take a moment just to kind of add your names here as a thank you. I opened the doors starting this yesterday, actually. So if you want to join, you want to make sure that you sign up for my email list at thebloominglotushealing.com so you can be part of the private Telegram group I have going on. I post weekly oracle guidance there for the collective, and we also go gather via Zoom every month to do a collective clearing. So I'm super excited to open up the space again. I kind of do it in little increments because I'm the only one managing the group. So that's the reason why it's not like constantly available for you to join at any time. But if you have been kind of wanting to join, then definitely you want to, come into my website. And when you go to the website, you scroll all the way down, and there's going to be a little area there that you can sign up for the email list, and so that you can receive the email when it comes out. So I may do another send out of the email probably next week, just so that for those of you who join between now and then, you can actually receive that email. But I already sent out an email for those who already joined the email list. So make sure that you check that out. Okay, enough about this stuff. Please share and like this video, support with that so that we can let the algorithm know that, that this is a good video to watch. And also, I just kind of want to take a moment to ask you to subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so yet. And kind of wanted to open up the conversation about Instagram. So I have an Instagram that I've been going live every Monday at 7 p.m. and I've been thinking about bringing it over to YouTube. How do y'all feel about me bringing the lives over to YouTube? I've been kind of like, playing around with the idea, and I kind of wanted to get your feedback. I know some of you already have given me feedback on Instagram, but I kind of wanted to ask you here so you can let me know in the comments if you're okay with me moving the lives that I do on Instagram over to YouTube. So the Instagram lives are basically all we do a meditation at the beginning, and then we basically just go in and dive into readings. That's basically what we do. And so, hi, Misha. So happy you're here. Who's coming in from? Hi, Amy, Erica, Peggy, Arlene. And then I have Facebook user. Maybe it's Jessica. And you prefer YouTube, Misha. Okay, sounds good. So, yeah, I feel like YouTube is so much better. So I don't know, just the energy feels better here, and I just really like it better here. So yeah, so excited. So we're gonna be talking about parallel lives today. Who's excited about the conversation? And that we're going to be having about parallel lives. And do you have any questions that you want me to answer in regards to this? And if you've gotten reading clearing, really what I do is really more clearings than readings. I mean, the reading kind of comes into the conversation as we do the clearing. But parallel lives are something that really do. I have noticed even in my own practice as a spiritual response therapy practitioner, which is the chosen modality that I have used and I have developed, a close relationship with to access the records. And there's so many ways to access the records. I was actually having a conversation with Maurice. I'm sure a lot of you know about Maurice. He's been here. We talked about, mediumship and all that good stuff. And so yesterday I had a one-on-one session with him, and where I was seeking support from him. So I was kind of telling him that I really notice that there's so many ways, right, to access the records, and there's really whatever resonates for you. So for me, the pendulum and the charts resonate for me, but for some people, getting into really deep meditation resonates for them. So it depends, right? But one thing that we all have found out when we go into the records is that we have found out that there's things that affect us that are beyond past lives. Now, keep in mind that, time is kind of relative, and it's, I mean, here on this earth, we experience time in the way that we do, and it kind of feels like we're bound to time. So sometimes these concepts can feel a little odd and woo for a lot of us. So please be very, just try to stay as open as you can as we're talking about parallel lives and how they affect, because I know it can be a little overwhelming to even wrap our head around this concept of parallel lives or other dimensions really you know affecting us, right? And so I kind of wanted to just invite you to just really feel into what I'm about to say with an open heart. Try to feel it in your heart space. Try not to let the mind get too involved, because sometimes, when we bring the mind in, it can create like kind of like a clash. So really feel into your body and how it settles in your body. So one thing the reason why I wanted to open up this conversation about parallel lives is because in my own experience, I've been, clearing myself every day, and I've been noticing how I feel in relationship to the world, and specifically with my relationships, right? Like, for example, my husband, he's the most close relationship that I have. I interact with him every day, of course. So I noticed, right? I'm kind of like my own guinea pig in a sense. And I've noticed that there's been times when I wake up in the morning and I'm kind of like, I really can't stand this man. Like, why? What is this? Where is this coming from? And granted, I don't remember all of my dreams. I don't remember all of the work that I do in the dream state. So, and a lot of times we do access these other timelines in our dream state. It does happen. Sometimes we don't remember it because it's really not for our highest good to remember, and it could just bog us down because if you have too much information in your brain that keeps you from actually being present in the moment, here in the now, then your higher self is not going to allow this stuff to be remembered. So it's just really it's a protective mechanism for us to be able to live in the here and now, right? And so I kind of wanted to just bring into conversation the fact that when you go into the dream state and you come back and maybe you're feeling a little off, you most likely have been doing some work in other lifetimes. And a lot of times when we're going into other lifetimes, we are tapping into what we call the parallel lives or the parallel universe. So the best way that I can describe a parallel life is like, imagine a copy of you in the same planet, right? But like a copy of the planet happening in a different timeline, right? So imagine like a timeline that is just kind of like next to yours. And so one of the things that and I'm gonna actually, I have this little thing that I drew. It's kind of ugly, but I always use this to show my clients. So if you can see this thing right here, there's kind of like this this really interesting looking rectangle that I drew here, right? And so that rectangle represents your soul, right? So this represents your soul. Okay. And so what happens is that your soul is multidimensional. So like your soul, because you're experiencing your life here and now, you feel like this is all there is, but there's so much more to you that, again, you can tap into, like I was mentioning, in your dream state, but you might not remember because, again, it's just too much information to carry in your brain here on this planet. So what happens is that you go into what we call astral projection, or we call that dream state work that we do. That is happening in the ethers, that is happening in the spiritual. So you can do a lot in the spiritual, like so much in the spiritual, a lot more than we can actually physically do here on earth. And so what happens is that you go in there, and a lot of times you might tap into what we call a different life. So let's say you are here, your lifetime now is here. A parallel life would be something that is happening here or here, something that is happening like right alongside with your lifetime. And a lot of times there could be parallel. So the parallel lives are interesting because you could potentially be expressed in a different gender. You could also be expressed on this in the same gender, and even a very similar life that you're having now, but just slight differences. For example, I'm just going to give you an example, right? Let's say you are married with 2 kids, and you're living, I don't know, in the mountains. Maybe in the parallel life, and then okay, and then let's just be specific, and you're a woman, right? And so maybe in the parallel life, you might be the husband, and you have the 2 kids, and you're also living in the mountains. It could be like slight changes like that, right? And the reason why your soul decides to create these is for the purpose of learning all aspects a lot faster. That's the reason why it's so important for us to connect to our higher self, because our higher self will have the intel of all of this information, and guide you from a place of love, because your higher self will have all of these different angles that you're experiencing as a soul. But the thing is that when we're here on this planet, and we're operating from the ego, again, the ego is not bad. The ego is not the bad guy here. But when we're operating from the ego, sometimes the ego, because of the protective process that the ego wants to do for us, the ego really is here to protect us, right? A lot of times that can be a little harder for us to break away from what we see here and now, right? And that's actually a good thing in many ways, because we're meant to really be living here and now. However, however, for the purpose of the work that I have been doing now for over 2 years now, for that purpose, okay, I wanna just share that, because these lifetimes can potentially affect us, like, let's say if there's any discordance happening on these other timelines that we're on right now, if there's any discordance that is vibrating at a very similar energy that we're living in here right now. So for example, to give you an example, maybe the lifetime that you're living in that parallel life is very similar, right? But there's discordance happening there, then that can potentially affect you. And then when you wake up in the morning, or maybe suddenly you're feeling triggered about certain things, and you don't know where they are coming from, and they're confusing you, and you're like, what is going on, and why am I having this energetic upheaval? And so this doesn't happen to absolutely everyone under the sun, but because I can't say that this is the truth that I have, the angle, right? This is an angle of the truth, but the absolute truth we can't know fully, because we would have to have all the angles, right? So this is just one angle of the truth. For some people, that might not be the case, right? They may be more aware, and they may be more present, and disconnected from all these other aspects, and that's the reason why they may not need my help, right, with clearings. However, for those of you who do experience these random moments, then that's when you want to consider, could this be coming from a different lifetime that is affecting me right now, right? And that's the interesting thing, and what the fascinating thing about the work that I do is that there's so many aspects to the soul that can be potentially affecting the person. Not only the past lives, absolutely, yes. And that's a very common thing. We hear so much about past life regression. Absolutely, we want to recount the past lives, but we also want to make sure that we are taking care of the parallel lives at the same time, if they need to be addressed. And the reason why is because it does help you karmically moving forward. If there's something karmically that can affect you negatively that is happening at the same time as right now, why not take care of it? Like, why not address that karmic situation at that moment? So for example, I'm going to give you an example. So let's go back to the now, this lifetime right now, right? And so we live in the now at this very moment. You're your own version of you right now. You can actually create programs, right, for yourself on this lifetime. I'm going to give you an example. Last year I had no, it wasn't last year, it was 2021. I had this big explosive situation with my mother-in-law. And I was out of my heart space. I was operating out of my heart space, right? And at that moment I was really angry, I was really upset, and then I went into this ruminating process of creating these thought process of negativity around her over and over and over and over again. Guess what happened? I programmed myself into a negative program that was becoming karmic. So what I had to do once I came into realization, because I'm human, we're all human, we're experiencing this lifetime, we're meant to experience all this stuff. What happened when I went back into the records, when I was ready, of course, when I was ready to to really be in my heart space and be more in neutrality, I was able to see that there were some programs that were created that day, right? That came from that stamped from that, and they kind of created that vicious circle. So if that can happen now in this lifetime, you know that it can happen in a parallel life as well, right? And that's why spirit, a lot of times when you are, when, let's say, you're coming to me and we're doing a session, and we're finding things from parallel lives, that's the reason why spirit is showing up this information for us. Why? Because if it's not serving our highest good and it's affecting us negatively, then why not release that? A program can become such a big energetic noise for our soul, that because of how heavy it is on that lifetime, it can seep through. It's almost like it can like affect us negative. Again, it's all part of the same soul, right? It's all the same, right? It's the same soul. So then when you're here, just because you're here doesn't mean that whatever's happening here is not affecting you. And the same thing for the opposite. If something is positively happening in your life, then that can also positively affect you in your current life. And the same thing, if something is happening positively in this lifetime, then it can positively affect you and affect you or be a positive effect on that parallel life. So I hope that makes sense. I know this can be a little bit complicated, but however, if you have questions for me, please let me know. If there's, maybe you're like, but what is this or what is that? Please let me know in the comments, and I'll be happy to go over this with you. And so Erica's saying, I think it's happening to you. Okay, so you probably think that you have some like random things showing up for you. And again, if you can't pinpoint where it's coming from, like maybe you can't, like it's something that you cannot figure out like why, like it feels random, even though it's not random, but it feels random. So if it feels random to you, Erica, that could potentially be something from either a past life or a parallel life. So for example, for me, between me and my husband, right, there's moments that I like wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh, I can't stand him. I'm like, okay. And I go back and I check, and I have some things from parallel lives that needed to be cleared. And I've had this happen with other soul parts of my soul family, that when I go and check, especially if they're flames. So that's another aspect that I wanted to bring into the table as well, is that if you have if you've been here before to the lives that I did back in January, I was talking about the type of soul relationships, and you can always go back and watch that video. And it was a live stream as well. And we were talking about the twin flames, the flame siblings, the flame cousins. Those flame relationships, they tend to have a lot of that parallel life type of energy with us. So those relationships tend to show up in parallels. So for example, my husband, he's not my twin flame, but he's my flame sibling, which is a step out of a twin flame. And so what happens there is that we're okay one day, and then the next day I'm like, I'm feeling and then I check, and it's something from a parallel life. So, and that's so typical, and it's happened with other people in my life that are part of my flame right, relationships that are typically related to something that's happening in the parallel. So a lot of times we go into parallel lives with these souls. Now that doesn't mean that you cannot go with other souls that that would be like very like, I would say, like, for us, kind of like very standoffish, right? Like, oh well, only we go to parallel lives with only flames. That's not the truth. However, I've noticed that it tends to be a pattern that happens the most with flames. So like a twin flame or a flame sibling or a flame cousin, you may have some of that going on there. Okay. I put myself in an arranged marriage in past lifetimes. Oh wow. Even my ex-husband was pretty much arranged. Wow, that's incredible. That's so interesting, Erica. Yeah, and listen, it's interesting how we kind of repeat certain patterns. And here's my cat, Jazz. Everyone, he wants to say hello. You want to say hello, baby? You want to say hello to everyone? He's shy. He doesn't show his face, but he's here. You can see a little bit of his tail and everything. Okay. If anything in my life here now is, so Misha is saying that, is full of discord. You feel lost and unsure what path to take. I wake up from wonderful dreams and just want to continue to sleep. Oh, Misha, I completely understand. And yeah, and that's the challenge, right? To live here in this, on this planet, to just remember that, things can get better and will get better as you move through. And then Vintage Reality is saying, reminds me of a Netflix series I used to love on Netflix called Fringe. Oh, I'm gonna have to look that up. And then Amy saying, yes, this is my sneaky ninja, my little cat, Jazz. So anyway, but yeah, so it's kind of it's really interesting, and to me it's fascinating, right? To be able to tap into these spaces and be able to clear the stuff is just so fascinating to me. And a lot, and one of the things that I've also noticed in my own path of clearing myself is, wow, how many people are out there living, and I think about this a lot, actually. I think about how many people out there are living in Discord, or on Discord, and they're not even realizing that a lot of this stuff can potentially be related to these other lifetimes. If I've been feeling this negativity around my husband, or I don't know, whoever else, and suddenly I feel better once I clear this stuff, like I wonder how many people are kind of stuck in these things. And that's the reason why I'm having these conversations here on YouTube, and wherever I can. And I know not everyone is going to receive this concept because it is out there. I get it. But it is a truth that I have experienced. And that's another thing, is like I can talk about this all day, but when you experience the truth of seeing how things shift from feeling that energetic gunk into shifting into a little bit more freedom into the parallel life, then you're like, oh wow, like that's interesting, like this was definitely affecting me. And so but you have to experience it, right? Like we can talk about truth all day, but experiencing it really makes a huge difference. So thank you. So what I wanted to mention too here is, are you experiencing anything like that in your own life? Like, are you experiencing, times when maybe things are going well, and then, suddenly you are feeling like things have shifted, and you're not understanding where they're coming from. And maybe you can try to explain it with, planetary changes that can be part of it too. But beyond the planetary changes, once the planetary shifts go back to where they were, are you still experiencing this stuff? And if that's the truth for you, then you might want to consider, tapping into these other timelines as well. So Amy's saying, so I have trouble staying present in the current life, because I jump between them a lot. And yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like we are meant to be present and being embodied and being grounded. That's really where we're meant to be, right? And it's very hard, because especially for example, for Misha, you were saying how it's hard for you to stay here because you want to just stay in the dream state, because this reality is a little harder. And the one thing that I would say is, things can get better. It's just a matter of just, working through the issues one at a time, and tackling things one at a time. Listen, I can tell you from my own experience, and I've also shared my story. I have a whole video where I share my story. Who is Jikara? You can find that. And in that video, I explain to you, all the things that I've been through, and I'm still unraveling, and I'm still healing so much within myself. And in that beautiful journey, in that beautiful process, of course, I want to share this with others. So that's the reason why I'm stepping into this space of sharing and also practicing this modality, and sharing this as a gift. However, it's also important to stay present and grounded in the experience, and allow ourselves to feel the suckiness of it too. And I had to do that a lot of times, right? Like feeling the suckiness of it and saying, okay, well, let me just feel into this and then move through it. But also doing it consciously, right? Moving through it consciously. And also seeking support is so important, Misha. Like for me, I haven't done this all by myself. I've done this with support. For me to tell you that I've done this all by myself would be a freaking lie. Okay. And we are naturally, beings that need community and need support. And so for us to do this all on our own is not the way to do it. Is, for me, I personally, and this is just my personal path, right? Everyone has their own thing that calls to them. I was, I went to therapy. I did EMDR. I went to get support at, places that would have like energy work. I also went to communities and listened to others, went to like group or circles. Um, I also tapped into plant medicine. I did meditation, painting. I did a Vipassana retreat. I've done so many things to try to see the light in all of the mist of the darkness that I experienced. And when I tell you, in that process, I was able to shed all of those heavy things. And in that process, of course, I also did SRT on myself and all that. So it's a combination of everything. But this is an aspect that you want to also consider, which is the parallel lives. And when you are going to a healer, you don't have to always come to me, right? Like I'm not the only one in this world that can do SRT. If you feel called to work with me, you can. But I just want to invite you to consider this part. And when you go to a healer, to tell them, hey, can you please make sure that you're also, considering these other timelines for me, because I'm feeling like, especially if you've done stuff for past life already, and it hasn't been relieved for you, say, hey, can you consider these other timelines for me as well? Is that something that you do? So that they can go into those timelines and help you there as well. So hopefully that will help. So let's see, I see some messages here coming through. um I have a hard time grounding. I have no earth. Yeah, so definitely, Misha, grounding is so important, and we have to like be very, very. One of the things, I'm gonna have an astrologer next week come in to talk about astrology, and I'm so excited to have him. He's got a lot of followers on TikTok and Instagram, and I feel very lucky that he's gonna come and share. So make sure that you come in next week at noon. And that's one of the things that he told me when he saw my chart, because I actually do have Capricorn on my sun, but I have other I have Aquarius in a lot of placements. And that's one thing that he told me is, you're always in your mind. It's hard for you to ground. So you want to make sure that you're always connecting to your body, connecting to the smells, all your senses, whatever senses you can connect to, so that you can stay grounded. So I'm just sharing that forward. And I've been doing that. It's been very helpful, Misha. So you started a moon journal with your feelings and emotions. You're a Cancer moon and very sensitive to planets changing. Yes, Erica. I've had a moment while driving and then all of a sudden being real angry at my husband. Yes, Cece. So that could potentially be something that happened in a parallel life. Like, guaranteed that was most likely what happened there. Misha saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Um, you definitely want to make sure that you stay, that you open up to more community for sure. Okay, Vintage Vanity's asking me what plant medicines I've used. So I have used so I started first with cannabis. I call her Mother Mary. I first started with cannabis. I believe that she is a if you use her with intention, and you use her with, especially the flower directly, and not the processed kind, but the flower. You always want to do the flower directly. When I've used her with intention, and that was actually guided intuitively to use her in that way, she showed me so many parts of my consciousness that needed to be addressed, and I held space for a lot of parts of me that needed to be held at that moment. And what I did to anchor myself, I was using painting and I was painting on records, on vinyl records, and I would take the medicine and I would paint on that. So that's another thing that you can do, is if you decide that you wanted to use Mother Mary cannabis, you can use her in that way. However, I want to just be caution you that you want to make sure that you're doing this in reverence, right? Like you are creating a space for yourself that is sacred, that you sage, that you talk to it, you ask for the help that you need, that you set the intention, you speak to it before you consume. And that's the way to do it too. These medicines, the spirits of these medicines want to be, they want to be respected. And when they're not going to give you any sort of healing. They're just going to send you into different funny places, right? Just for fun. But if you do that, then I went into using the plant medicine of mushroom. So I used mushroom, and then I used the plant medicine of San Pedro, and then continued working with mushroom. And then I was able to sit with Mama Aya last year before I got married to my husband. We actually both sat with that intention of wanting to just clear ourselves before we got married, and our ancestors were there. It was beautiful. And so I have taken all of these different plants for different reasons, and they all have helped me in different ways. And then now it's just a matter of integrating, right? You can take the medicines, but then you have to integrate whatever they're saying to you. And I also actually have a video about that as well on my channel if you want to watch that. Amy, you're my favorite. Aw, thank you. You would love that sound. You love that sound healer from YouTube to come on my channel. Absolutely, I would love that. Please recommend people to me if you can. I'd love to bring them over so they can talk about themselves and share and teach us a little bit about their beautiful wisdom and knowledge. You do love to go to nature, Misha, but the weather is so freaking hot now. It's hard right now. It is hot. I don't know where you are, Misha. I'm in Florida, so it's really hot over here, hot and humid. So it's like, ugh, if you're gonna go out, you gotta go early in the morning. Yes, absolutely. Setting intentions is good. Okay, so Peggy's asking, thanks so much for explaining parallel lives. I understand it better now. Does everyone have one or more parallel lives? Can this be the cause for so much anxiety for people too? Amazing question, Peggy. Oh my gosh, of course, Peggy. I am so grateful that you're here asking these amazing questions. So yes, so when it comes down to the parallel lives, you can definitely experience anxiety, or even depression, or any of the other let's say mental dis-ease, right? Because it's a dis-ease, you're not feeling at ease. So um and that can come from a parallel life as well. So for example, if you're experiencing some really heavy energies on that other lifetime where you're feeling really depressed, and that can seep through. And yes, you can have more than one parallel life at the same time. Typically, I haven't seen anyone yet that doesn't have any. And I've done many clearings, I've done hundreds of clearings, and I haven't seen anyone at all that doesn't have parallel lives, right? And so now what I have seen is that maybe when we're doing a clearing, the parallel lives might not be affecting them for that specific intention that they want to clear at that moment. But that doesn't mean that they don't have parallel lives that are also actively there. And not all parallel lives have to be affecting you at that moment. However, the ones that do can definitely bring, emotional upheaval. They can definitely bring, a sense of anxiety, or maybe a sense of fear out of nothing, out of nowhere. They can bring that as well. Especially if something again happened negatively in that parallel life that is affecting, that is affecting that version of you, right, on that lifetime. Yeah. So and then the other thing that I was going to say too, in regards to having more than one, there is a concept out there. I'm not sure how, like, I'm not sure how, how true this is, but I do have another practitioner who mentioned to me that typically we try, like, once the parallel lives are completed, because you could have a completion of a parallel life a lot faster. Let's say, for example, you something happens to you and then you move on, like you die early in the parallel life or whatever. um and that's not necessarily, dying is not a bad thing, y'all. Please, let's not look at death as a bad thing. It's actually not a bad thing. It's just like, it's just the end of that specific life. And then we can, of course it hurts, and it, we don't want to lose anyone. But when you die early, or when something happens, it's actually just, and I'm giving you a perspective from the Akashic records, right? Like, I know this sounds kind of like robotic, but it's not. I'm telling you, I do feel as well when someone passes on, and but I have reconciled my relationship with death in the sense that I can see it as just a continuation of the soul's journey into a new path. So it's almost like, the way I see it is like, oh, okay, the soul has graduated into this new grade, like going from first grade to second grade, let's just say, right? So, but okay, so going back to what I was saying, I have heard that there's lifetimes that sometimes they kind of abruptly end because they are they're done. Like, your soul is done with those, with the lessons, and so then kind of comes down. It goes down exponentially, and eventually you can potentially get to just that one lifetime and not have any parallel lives. I personally, because of what I've seen, I haven't seen that happen, but that's also a concept that I have heard. Now, the truth of this or not, I don't know. I don't know where that's coming from, or why there's the belief of that. If you do know it, please let us know in the comments. I will be excited to hear more about it if you do know about it. But that's definitely something that is considered as well. So, like, eventually, supposedly, the soul wants to kind of close down into that one life, especially the ones that are similar to yours in the now, right? So, okay. Do we have the same guides and angels in those lives? That is a very good question. Actually, you don't. A lot of times you may have different guides in those lifetimes because of the fact that there's different aspects that you need to be learning on that lifetime. So, you may not have the same. Now, your higher self is the same across the board, and your higher self is going to be an accumulation of uh all of the beings that are part of your higher self, because your higher self is not just one being. It's just accumulation of all these aspects of you into one. And so there's going to be almost like different combinations of those aspects, let's just say, uh on these other lifetimes as well. So that could be potentially something that happens. And because of that, excuse me, but it doesn't stop being your higher self, right? Because all of that information is there, and communicating with all of those versions of you at the same time, which is so cool. I think is the coolest thing. Like, spirit is the coolest thing ever, and I just love how everything is just happening at the same time, and all communicating at the same time, and all shifting at the same time. And there's so many differences, but at the same time similarities. It's just fascinating to me. But anyway, I digressed, Peggy. About the guides and the angels. Yes, you can have different expressions of those angels, and there can be even other souls. I don't know if y'all know, but y'all could be right now, in another lifetime at this very moment, expressed as a guardian angel. You could be also expressed as a dark energy, which is not something that people want to think about themselves. But yes, we get to experience both sides of the coin at the same time, so that we can understand better what is love and what is not love. Okay, thank you for that, vintage vanity. I'm gonna look into that, and I would love to have him over. You're in Florida, Misha. Okay, so then you are definitely hot over here. We're hot here in Florida. And I'm kind of wondering, do y'all have any more questions about parallel lives, or or how they affect you, please let me know in the comments. These are amazing questions, Peggy, that you're bringing in. And yeah, so how do you know a parallel life versus an energy entity that is hanging out with you? Good question, Arlene. Okay, so with that said, with parallel life, that's a very good question, because with parallel life, it feels a little bit more faint, energetically, at least for me. Okay, this is just my own, again, this is just my own experience, and of course your experience might be a little different, but for me particularly, it feels a little more faint when it's a where when it is an actual entity. It feels very heavy and very dense. um Not that the density of the energies of the other lifetime are not, they're not dense, but because they're happening kind of like further out, and they're not like attached to me, it doesn't feel as intense. Entities are going to feel very heavy, and sometimes even on the body you might feel even tired, or you might feel like this like sudden, like really intense fear, more so that when you're having this the parallel life, it's going to be more like, it's going to be sudden, but then also it's not going to be so intense. So if you're feeling that level of intensity, and you're having like, and then there's going to be a combination. So I'm going to tell you right now, with the actual entities, there's going to be a combination of things. It's going to feel in the body very heavy. It's going to also feel intense, like more intense and more dense. And you're going to have the ruminating thoughts, negative thoughts that are coming from like places like, what is, that's typically the thoughts of the entity, because the entities communicate to you through your mind. So that's how they communicate, and that's how um they latch onto you in a way. And so you're gonna have suddenly like really negative thoughts that are kind of ruminating constantly. And that can potentially be that entity. So what you want to do is you want to ask to have those entities removed right away. And you can ask Archangel Michael to remove those, and to send them to the light, because they don't belong to you. And so let's see. Okay, Peggy saying that makes sense. Okay. And then Vintage is saying death is freedom and liberation. Yes, it really is. It's freedom and liberation. And we go back into that beautiful space of spirit. And then Nicole is saying, you want to take my class? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes, y'all. So I'm glad that you're mentioning that, Nicole. So I am teaching the Beloved Method, which is similar to SRT, but it's not SRT. I'm not allowed to teach SRT because SRT is very specific through the SRA. So if you want to learn SRT, then you got to go through SRA. But I am teaching a method that is similar to SRT. It addresses more on the relationship side of things, soul relationships. But then there's, you can expand into it, and you can also use it alongside with SRT. It works well with other charts as well. I'm right now on my 5th week of the class with my group, and then we're gonna be finishing up next week. But I'm gonna be opening again the class for to learn this system, most likely in August. So if you're interested, you want to make sure to go to my website and sign up for my email list, so that way you know when I am opening the class next. So I'm just gonna put my website here. Let me just find it here on my thingy, on my little ticker. There it is. And then Jazz is like sitting on my hand. I wish y'all can see it. Jazz is sitting on my hand, like he's putting his head on my hand, and like right there where I have the mouse. He's like, okay, you're not moving, mom. Anyway. You will know, Misha, because you will definitely hi Michelle. Um you would know, Misha, because you would, well, for you, I feel like it may have become so hard that you may not have like an understanding yet, because if you've had it for a while. But try to go back into a time where you didn't feel any negativity, and try to pinpoint what happened around that time, and you'll notice most likely something happened around that time, or maybe there was like someone that had attachments that kind of, that you picked up on, and then you've been just kind of feeling that energy. A lot of times those thoughts, they come from the entities. They come disguised as our voice, but it's really not us. And I have my opinions about certain thing. Not everyone, right? Because we all need to also recognize, I'm not a psychiatrist by any means, and so a psychiatrist will be a better person to kind of give more information on the brain chemistry and how it works and why things happen. However, in the spiritual aspect of things, one thing that I have noticed is that, especially for me, because I have personally experienced moments where I've had attachments that would that felt like it was my voice, but I thankfully I had my higher self guiding me and saying, "Hey, no, that's not what's happening." And I also had my husband who was like, could you be experiencing attachments? And I was like, ding 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 ding. And but I was having these really heavy thoughts, and I wanted to like end my life, like out of nowhere. And I was like, where is this coming from? And the voice was misguided as mine. Like it felt like it was me, but it wasn't me. So a lot of times that can be part of it too. They kind of cloak themselves. And so the only way that is by going with to someone to check you and check if there's anything that could potentially be affecting you like that. So, but that the only way for you to find out is by checking your records and seeing and finding out that way. But if you've had it for a while, which I have a feeling that you have, I want to invite you to go back to the last time that you didn't feel like that and notice what happened around then. That can potentially what shifted for you, like what event shifted this for you, and then go. You may not remember if it's been for a long time. Maybe it happened when you were a kid. So then that's when, of course, things like the hypnotherapy or doing SRT or something like that can help. Um, okay, and yeah. So can you cross paths with your parallel life? Yes, you can cross paths with your parallel life in your dream state, meaning in the spiritual aspect of yourself. You can actually see, your consciousness can most likely show you things, and you probably have had dreams where you have crossed path with it. But for you to actually cross the physical path of your parallel life, no, that would be a timeline collapse, and that's actually not a good thing. And around when Pluto shifted, the beginning of this year, I did a video about this, and I even did a clearing. And you guys can go back and watch the video and listen to that clearing. There was a timeline collapse that happened, and so it affected everyone that's here on Earth, basically. So that's the reason why I left that free clearing for everyone to listen to, because we wanted to make sure, well, Spirit wanted to make sure that everything was rearranged for as many people as possible. So I wasn't the only one that received this message, and then there's a lot of people out there that most likely did a lot of healing and clearing, but I did my part because I was guided to. So anyway, that is not a good thing. To have a timeline collapse is not a good thing. Everything should be in order. Even in spirit, when we think that things look chaotic, there is a divine order to everything. Let's see. Yes, Jess wants my attention. Erica says, my dog literally under my sweater. Right? Oh, she's been so attached to me and always needs to be touching me. Oh, I love that. Michelle, you feel right now? Amy says, I was once told that in a reading that I had a gift to cross dimensions very easily by choice, sort of like popping in whenever I want. Yes. So Amy, so dimensions are a little different because that is going to be a different. So for example, you can have parallel lives in the same dimension. So parallel lives in the 3D or parallel lives in the 4D. So it's kind of like it's kind of like going up on the dimension, which I really don't like saying up because, but so you go up on dimensions and then you go kind of go like the parallel lives kind of go like this, like out, right? And so you could potentially have parallel lives in another dimension, but that's, but they're not going to necessarily affect you as much because your parallel lives are basically related to you at this moment, like, so it's kind of like it spreads out. You're the root cause, right? Let's just say, or well, really, you're not really the root. All of y'all, we don't know which one is the root, right? Parallel. But anyway, but it's gonna kind of expand this way, and then dimension is gonna expand this way. So with that said, what that is what we call, like in the shamanic world, they call this going into the underworld or going into the other worlds, like going into all these different dimensions. You can definitely step into those spaces. And when you go into those dimensions, then there's many things that there's many reasons why people do that. So the shamans go in there to apply healing or to find information, or to find or to connect to other beings that help them and guide them. Or you can just go in there and apply healing as well. I'm not familiar with a fire jumper, but yeah. So Misha, the free clearing is on, it's called, I can't remember the name of it. I'll show you. I'll find it right now and send it here on the, I can't remember the name. But anyway, so any more questions about parallel lives or dimensions or anything else related to this, let me know in the comments. And then if not, then we will go ahead and get started with the readings. Who is ready for readings? I know that y'all are ready for readings. Can y'all see me? I hope that y'all can see me. I'm on another tab right now, so I just want to make sure that y'all can see me. There we go. Okay, I was trying to find the video for you, Misha. But definitely other timelines is important, or other parallel lives is important for us to remember. So again, when you're feeling a little off, and it's not, and you've been doing maybe a little bit of work on this already on past lives, then do consider parallel lives could be potentially okay. It's called timeline collapse, Misha, and I'm gonna put it here on the comments. There it is. There it is, y'all. So I'm gonna have some of my cacao. I'm gonna have to bring Jazz down because I need the space to do the readings. Awesome, y'all can see me. Awesome. So are y'all ready for readings? I love hanging out with y'all today. It's nice and cozy with everyone. Is anyone here coming in from Meetup? I'm kind of curious to know. And if you are, let me know in the comments. If you're coming in from Meetup, let me know in the comments. Okay, baby, thank you. He's so sweet. He knows when mommy needs to go and do her thing. Okay. So, hi, Diana. Awesome. Welcome. Vintage Vanity. Okay, awesome. That's awesome. I'm so happy that y'all are here. I'm just going to burn a little bit of Palo Santo here for us. Michelle. Yay. Awesome, Michelle. You look forward to Thursdays. Awesome. That's awesome. I'm so glad that you guys are here. And I'm just burning a little bit of Palo Santo. I don't know if y'all can see it. I totally left the thing in here. I didn't even realize. There we go. Let me turn that off for a little bit. I had like my website thing there for a while. Okay. And I'm just opening the space right now and calling in our ancestors, our higher selves, spirit guides into the space. I'm going to ask Spirit to open the sacred container for healing and support. Thank you, Spirit. And then if you have any questions, you will, if your name is not part of your handle, let me know your first name. Just let me know your first name, and then your question. Yeah, it doesn't burn for too long. It basically stops very quickly, which I kind of like, actually, because it keeps it from creating a fire in the house. Congratulations, Peggy. That's amazing. Oh, thank you, Misha. That's good. And vintage, yeah, thank you. I try. I'm actually an introvert, extrovert. I there's times that I need to like disconnect from everyone and everything. So yeah. Just letting you know. Okay. All right, so we're gonna get started with Peggy. I'm so excited for you, Peggy. So you said it's been a while, just finished advanced class. And what she means by advanced class is Peggy just finished her advanced class for SRT. I'm so proud of you. I hope that everything went well for that class, and that you were enjoying this new journey of SRT in your life. And Peggy also has taken my beloved method class as well. So she's definitely equipped. You are fully equipped, girl. You are going for it. That's amazing. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for everyone. And I'm just gonna clear my cards here real quick. All right, put this over here so I don't have a. There we go. Thank you, Spirit. And clearing this cards too. So just give permission, Peggy, to connect to your higher self, and I'll connect. Okay, please connect. Thank you, Spirit. All right, so I am connected right now, and Spirit wants to speak through the astrology cards for you in regards to. All right, so let's see. Excuse me here, my nose is running a little bit. Okay. We have, I deal with allergies. It's not COVID or anything like that. Okay, so let me see. Wow, these are beautiful cards, Peggy. I'm going to pull some other cards here. Wow, perfect, beautiful. Okay. So, Peggy, I'm just going to take a moment here. Hang tight. Okay. So, the first card that came out for you was the card of the Yang. Okay. And when I see this card, it leads me to believe that this is Spirit basically acknowledging the proactive space that you've been, the very proactive space. You've been very active, very forward in your action and in the forward motion. And it's not only an acknowledgement, but also not only for the fact that you've done it, but also that you're doing it now, and that's how you're gonna continue to do this forward, right? So it's kind of like this spirit is kind of showing me like the timeline, like, okay, past, present, future, like this is what's gonna, that's basically what's gonna continue to happen, is that action forward for you. Okay. And then we have the card of Mars coming through, which is supporting also energetically, right? The fact that you're being supportive energetically right now, um, by the planets and how they are basically, aligned in your forward motion, right? So for every forward motion that you do, I feel like there's going to be an exponential shift forward for you, right? So for every move forward, just think about this too. So be mindful of this as you're moving forward, being very, very mindful and intentional about where you're moving forward, because there's almost like this expansive energy of Jupiter, right? This energy of expansive of expansion that is happening with every motion forward that you do, every step forward that you do. So being having the discernment into how and why, and your why, that's the important thing. Your why you're doing it is the most important thing. So like really going back to your why is should be your guiding tool as you do this, because again, you have this very expansive energy just really supporting you. So again, everything that you do is going to be like exponentially forward movement for you. Okay. Then another thing that I see here is you've been doing a lot of work. So spirit really wants you to allow yourself to maybe slow down for a couple days this week. Just give yourself a little bit of tender love and care. You've been doing a lot of work, and so because again you've been doing a lot of shadow work. Okay, you've been doing a lot of shadow work, and taking a little time to breathe and rest is also productive for you. And also spirit wants to you came up with this card number 20, which is you are what you think, which is the flamingo. And when I see this card, it's kind of not only addressing the fact have that you have this amazing forward power that I was mentioning, but also knowing that everything that you're thinking about doing is the truth of where you're going, right? So like what you're inspired in your mind to do, what you're inspired, where you see yourself, where you're visualizing yourself, all of these things are like they are part of your reality. That is what you are, and that's why you're thinking of that. So just being mindful of that as well, that not don't feel like it's separated from you, but rather feel like it's actually who you are and where you're going. So like as you are thinking of this forward movement, just consider that what you are experiencing in your mind is what you are experiencing as you take those actions with discernment of your why. Okay. And then yeah, you were in Florida. Oh my god, that's incredible. You love Palo Santo over Sage for some reason. Okay, awesome. So I hope that that makes sense for you. And oh, it was that where you took your class? Do you take your class in Florida? Oh my god, I wish I would have known. I would have loved to see you. Well, I don't know. It depends on where in Florida where you were. And that is all I have. I am complete. Yes, Divine Feminine. Let me tell you, the Divine Feminine is wanting to lead for the next couple of months. And I was mentioning this to my group, to my Cosmic Light Activation group, which you're part of, but that the Divine Feminine wants to start leading this for the next couple of months. So definitely allow yourself to be in that process of receiving. So I'm going to disconnect now. Please disconnect. Thank you, Spirit. Do you take the class with the same teacher, or do you take the class with a different teacher? Peggy. I think it was Kathleen, right, that you were taking a class with? Okay. Next person, let's take a look. Who else is here? Asking. Let me see. Okay. Michelle, you're wondering about your career situation. Okay. Let me go ahead and connect. Just give permission to your higher self to connect to my higher self. And I'm going to just clear myself for a minute. Okay. Do I have permission to connect to Michelle? Yes, please connect. Thank you, Spirit. All right. So I'm connecting Michelle. Okay, so there's 3 decks I want to speak to you. So let's take a look and see which deck wants to speak first. Okay. Okay. I'll put this over here. Okay, there we go. Give myself a space. All right. So is this where she's been existing? Okay, anything else? Okay, so the first card that came up for you, Michelle, was the card of these two came together, the fixed and the 5th house. Okay, and so you've been existing, okay, on the earth energy, which is kind of like being patient and being more practical about things, trying to stay more grounded on like, oh, this is what makes more sense, more logical sense, like what is the practical way of doing things, which is, it's a great place to be. However, you've been also kind of really feeling into or wishing, right, more of that, more dependent, like dependability around you, like more support, more stability around you. And so, and this is stemming from from your inner child, right? So like there's kind of like a little bit of inner child work that you need to kind of lean into as part of your career path. And what I mean by that is part of your journey of grounding into where you are happy in your career has to do with connecting with that inner child and allowing more play in your work. And so it can look as you taking the time to work with your inner child, do things that bring you that play into your life and on the weekends, and then kind of bringing that energy that creates that connection with your inner child into your work, to where you bring more of that like levity, some of that I'm getting that message of levity, like more like a very light energy into your space. And the reason why is because that's what's going to help weave more of that of what you are wanting to bring, right? But in order for you to do that, you have to address this part of you. It's almost like this, like the best way that I can describe it, and I mean, the best way that I can describe it is kind of like when we are kind of constipated, right? Like we are constipated, we're uncomfortable, and there's like, and a lot of times there's things at the subconscious that are at play that are kind of constipated for us. And in your case is your inner child. And so, allowing that flow of energy, allowing that expression of play will bring some ease into many other things, especially with your career as well. Okay. Now I see here the card of house 2, okay, and the card of trine that is coming through for you. And when I look at so I asked some additional supportive cards here. And when I look at these cards, based on what I'm seeing here and what you're calling in, what you're being invited to do by spirit, so this to me is telling me that the support, like the support is there. So that support that you're calling in, that I was mentioning in the with a fixed card, and the dependability, that support is actually there, present, but it may not look in the way, it may not look like what you expect. It's more on the etheric. So connecting to your setting intentions with your angels and your guardian angels and the archangels, to really feel or bring them in, like even in the morning when you're getting ready, bring them in, say, hey, I want your support, please come in and support. Like you have to ask, they're kind of waiting for you to ask, so you have to ask for that to come through. Okay. The other thing that I see here in regards to this card, the house 2, is that when you ask for this support, this is going to translate for you in the physical form, right? So as everything kind of starts in spirit, and it comes in, like it starts in the 5D and it comes into the 3D, right? Or it starts in the higher dimensions and it comes to the 3D. So like when you're asking for support, you'll be surprised at how, for example, you start asking and you start praying and things start shifting. And it's not going to shift I mean, it could change from one day to another, but I can tell you right now that, when you do that and you shift that perception of not feeling supported to actually being supported and asking for that support, that things are going to start showing up for you, right? But you want to make sure that you connect to that energy. So then I'm going to pull, because there's 3 decks I want to speak to you. So I'm going to pull from this other deck. Okay, so this deck wanted to speak to you about the fact that you're kind of going through an awakening process, and what you are experiencing, the feeling, this feeling that's kind of like I was saying, like constipation, energetic constipation feeling that you're experiencing. That is part of the awakening of really your true self, like what is more aligned with you. And spirit wants you to know that, working on your worth and knowing that you are worthy to receive, the support and the and the love, and the, not only from, you're already receiving, right? Like you're already there, in the etheric, in the spiritual, but know that it's also possible in the 3D, like that worth can also express. So working on that, and I feel like that bringing that play and connecting to that inner child is really going to help with this, with that feeling of worthiness. And so so this is a path right now of liberation that you're going through. Okay, liberation of the old paradigm, liberation of the old ways of thinking, liberation of the ancestral ways of your family, liberation of the programming that has been put onto you, or projected onto you. You're going through this process of liberation, and the process of liberation is not always the most beautiful thing. It can get really uncomfortable, and that's kind of like what's happening here. But you definitely want to focus on your inner child, and also bringing that worthiness and speaking to your inner child from that place of worthiness. And how do you speak to your inner child? Looking at yourself in the mirror and say, I am worthy, you are worthy, and I love you. Or giving yourself a hug, and at night or in the morning when no one is looking, and giving yourself a hug and talking to yourself and say, you're worthy and I love you. And taking that time to do that will really, really help you shift so much of the energetic, gunk that you've been feeling into a more energy of ease and flow for you. And so last thing, last card, this card's wanted to speak to you as well. Powerful. Powerful, powerful, powerful. Okay, so there's 3 cards that came up for you. The card of the hawk came through. Absolutely powerful. You've been working really hard, very, very hard. There's the bee right there. That's you being the queen of your life. Okay. And the card of the hawk is calling you to really, well, first of all, it's number 19. Number 19 is number 10. And number 10 is, the one that like leads the way, and we have number 1, number 9 leads the way for the highest good of all. So for the highest good of you and others and your family, and you're going through this awakening process, this shift of consciousness. Yes, this happens in all aspects of our lives. Yes, it can happen in our career. Yes, it can happen in the way that we connect to our worth. Yes, it can happen in the way that we connect to our love life. All of these are parts of our awakening. Okay. And so so this is a place of focus for you right now. And so you're being invited to see things from a higher perspective. So connecting to the hawk, you can even call on the hawk and ask it to give you the higher perspective of a certain situation, especially like in the morning or in the middle of a situation, and you're kind of like, okay, you know what, let me bring in the hawk perspective. Like, what is the big picture here, right? And where am I going, and what is kind of like my north, right? And kind of going from there and allowing yourself to see from the situation, which is a minuscule thing compared to the big picture of where you're going, right? And so giving yourself permission to see that higher perspective, giving yourself permission to see a different perspective, giving permission to yourself to see, well, maybe let me put my ego aside and let me see perspectives from this angle, so that I can see fully everything that I need to see, and I can so I can make decisions and take actions and shift my consciousness, so that to a place of understanding of, even deeper understanding of where I'm going. And so the card of nourishment came through for you. And this card, when I see this card for you specifically, I see that you are, because you're kind of like in the middle of it. You're in the middle of that awakening process. You're in the middle of in the midst of shifting things, right? You want to make sure that you're taking the time to, the energy of rest, right? That I was telling Peggy, you want to take that energy of rest. You want to take that, again, the feminine is coming through for you. The feminine really wants to lead a lot of our path in the next couple of months. So the feminine is coming in here and saying, nourish yourself, care for yourself, take the time out, take the time off, go out to, the mini vacation or the mini staycation or whatever that is for you, so that you can nourish and support yourself in the way that feels aligned with you. not with what you think people want you to do, but more with like what does Michelle want, right? Like what does Michelle not only want, but what does she need? And I'm getting the message of trusting the process, right? And so you're kind of like in this very moment of like sprouting, and as you're sprouting, there's going to be a lot of unknowns and a lot of unanswered questions right now. But just know that they're being in the place of trust. Again, going back to the fact that you have that energetic for support, the Trine card came through. So like you have so much support, so trusting that you are supported and that you are going to you know um receive all of what you need, that you've been calling in, which is that additional support, that additional stability, and that dependability, and beyond what you even imagine. But in order for you to receive that, you've got to make sure that you are feeling worthy to receive it, and you're able to receive it, and you're open to receive it, and that again you're also doing that inner work with the inner child, right? And so doing all of those things are key ingredients for all of this to come together for you. Okay, so that is what I have for you. I am complete. So everyone, I pull cards in the way that spirit, because a lot of times there's going to be messages from different decks that want to speak. So, and that's how I work. I work with different decks for that reason, because every deck has a specific energy that wants to come through for you. So I know for some of you it might be just one deck, for some of you it might be several decks, just like it happened with Michelle. But that is what I have here for you, beautiful Michelle, and I am complete. I'm disconnecting now from your higher self now. All right, so Michelle. You work with different decks too. Awesome. Okay, let me see what else. Hang tight. I'm trying not to skip anyone. Okay, Amy, you want to know why you're so keen to jump between live dimensions and have to give me roots? Can you explain a little bit that question for me? I'm trying to understand. What do you mean by giving you roots? That you're having a hard time rooting or having a hard time grounding? Is that what I'm understanding? Do you want guidance for that on how to root? Let me know in the comments. All right. And Michelle, I hope that resonated for you. I don't know if I see you here. I hope I didn't lose you. How to get roots? You mean like how to stay rooted here on this lifetime? So we can take a look. Bear with me. Okay. I'm connecting to your higher self now, Amy. Bear with me. Okay. All right, give me a minute. Okay. You're welcome, Michelle. Okay. So the first card that came up for you, Amy, is the card of karma. So this leads me to believe that there's some things in regards to your karmic path that are potentially creating this for you. So you may want to address this at the karmic level. I'm seeing here that you've been actually receiving guidance from spirit sometimes, but you may not be as open to receive it at the time because you're kind of like in that process of of timeline jump or all this going back and forth. So you want to make sure that you listen to that guidance because it is coming through for you. Divine source is definitely there, kind of like really present and wanting to wanting to really guide you in that into how to practice the path of the right now, right? And so one thing that I see here is that it's karmic for sure, but then I also see here that there is guidance coming through for you that is not being followed through. So you want to make sure that you are kind of like keep your spidey senses open to when you receive that, just kind of like, okay, listen to it and then do what you're being told at that moment to do. So it could be something as simple as just move your feet, or it can be something as simple as take a deep breath. It can be something as simple as look outside the window and just look at the clouds. Like it could be something as simple as that you're being kind of guided, but because you're kind of like, oh, like here and there, that it may you may ignore these little guidance that is going to help you stay grounded. Okay. Now that's happening, but you also want to address um the karmic path of that, right? And you notice that there's some like weaving there, which is really cool. So that is the weaving of your soul, of your life. And so there's a thread there that's been kind of taking a step forward. So you can even check even in your charts if there's anything if there's anything karmic that needs to be cleared for you. You can check that for yourself on chart 2. And y'all, this is like beloved method stuff that I'm telling Amy. And you can check this on chart 2. You may not understand, y'all, so it's okay, but Amy will understand. And clear any karmic programs that are keeping you from receiving first that guidance, and also clear if there's ask if there's any program for any programs that are keeping you from being present in the moment and grounded. So being present and being grounded, I would check both separate. And then you are a master manifester, and it's interesting because there is that beautiful spider coming through, and then there's that weave coming through, leading me to believe that the spider is a spirit animal that wants to come forth and support you. I'm feeling that very strongly for you, and that wants to help you weave that pathway of staying more grounded and staying more um, more present in the moment. Okay. And so, in regards to any guidance on how you're seeing the messages, I'm getting it that it's through your thoughts. So it's through your thoughts that you're receiving the messages. So you want to make sure that you stay present you might have like this thought as like, oh, move your feet or move your hands or little things like that, right? And so paying attention to that, and you may not be conscious of it all the time, but just when you become conscious of it, allowing that guidance, and also taking the action. So like, it's taking the action that has to happen, like that connection of taking the action is what has to happen, so that you can stay more grounded. Okay. And so that is what I have for you, my love. I am complete. Okay. And I would definitely look into your charts and clear that for yourself. Okay. Clear the karmic stuff. Okay, so let's take a look here. I am clearing myself. Yeah, they are your spirit guides. So definitely lean into it. There is a saying in the shamanic world that those animals that you're terrified of are actually your medicine, your spirit animals. So yeah, spiders are awesome. Actually, I'm really fascinated by them. Okay, so let me see who else is coming through here. Oh, you're seeing the tarot from Dali. Yes, that was an actual a gift for my birthday this year. Am I going to be doing the divine feminine meditation? Actually, yes, I'm going to do that. I'm definitely going to do that. Okay, so let me see. Cece. Okay. Relationship question. Okay, to mother. Awesome. Let's do it. Let's do it, Cece. Let's do it. Oh, wow, Misha. I love it. I love it. I love spiders. I think they're really awesome. Okay. So, Cece, we're going to do a reading on your mother. So, bear with me. Just give me permission to connect to your higher self. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look. All right, Cece. So I'm gonna mention to you that so your soul relationship to your mother, okay, is that of a flame cousin. So she is a flame energy in your life. And one of the main purpose of your relationship to her, and this goes in both ways, is that you're both teaching each other how to love self. So like how to love yourself and love others, right? And so that is the main soul relationship purpose for you guys. Okay. And I am seeing here that there's some certain things in regards to your roots. So, meaning the feeling of protection, being protected, and feeling abundant in your life is being affected right now. Within that, that's part, like, that is affected due to your relationship with your mother. Okay. So there's some karmic things that need to be clear there. And the same thing with the sacral. So your creativity may be affected as well because of certain things, certain karmic things that are showing up here. So you will be in the highest expression of your relationship with your mom when you are expressing the energy of freedom, freedom to be yourself, and her freedom to be herself, and freedom to each other to be yourselves, right? Like, so like that freedom has to be given to each other, right? Like it has to be like both ways, and that's when you are in the highest expression. Freedom of being yourself, freedom of expressing yourself, expressing your truth, like anything that has to do with just being you freely and unapologetically, right? And so that is when you know you're in the highest expression of that relationship. So when you're not in that experiencing that freedom, that means that there's some work still that needs to be done between you guys. So yes, of course, the challenges on this lifetime are the cords, but I also see here programs between you guys that are karmic. So let's take a look and see what Spirit wants to say. Yeah, bear with me. Ooh. All right, so let me just clear the cards real quick. They feel a little heavy. I'm going to clear them real quick. Thank you, Spirit. I'm being shown a deck too. I'm going to pull it up. I don't have it here. All right, so is this, I feel like there is this idea of like wanting to tame you and like the way that you are, Cece, almost like this is the constant energy that you receive from your mom. It feels like there's like, I have to tame this girl. I have to like comply, have her comply in the ways, in our ways, in my way, in the way that I want. And so there's like this push and pull that I see that's happening there. And this is just based on programming, right? Like the illusion. So just really remember that. Like you want to make sure that you remember that that's coming from that place and not from her heart. So just remember that you know, in this journey of your relationship with her, a lot of the things that she, how do I say this? A lot of the things that she projects onto you are not even coming from her. They're coming from her programming, right? And so like trying to see it from that perspective is the most healing way to view the situation, right? And so, but then also, okay, so this is one thing that but Spirit is also mentioning that you still want to make sure that you still stay in your power. Okay. Just because she's coming from this constant, you know, projection of like, oh, this things have to be this way or whatever, you still want to claim stay in your power. And the reason why is because as you stay in that space, then you give her that invitation to actually join you in that space, right? So you don't want to like stay, you know, step down you want to stand true in your path. And I'm getting guided to pull from this other deck for you. Hang tight. And there's the rose deck. So I'm going to bring a little bit of the rose essence here. Thank you. Calling in that guidance of the rose. Okay, yeah. Okay, so when you do this, CC, okay, and you stay in the space, you're actually going to quite literally bring the invitation to your mother to do what she's meant to do in the first place, which is to connect to herself, right? While you connect to your own self, while you connect to your own inner guidance, while you are going into that inner quest, which you've been on, right? While you do that, you're quite literally giving her that invitation, right? Now it's up to her, right? It's up to her to take it or not. And you can't really force anyone. You can take someone to the water. So you could take the horse to the water, but you can't drink it for them, right? But you are still doing this, right? Like you don't want to step away or feel like there's something that you're doing wrong because you're staying in the space of claiming your femininity and your inner power and your inner guidance and the way that you want to live and express your life in the unique way that you do. There's nothing wrong with what you're doing. If anything, there's that beautiful shift of consciousness that you're bringing in. However, this is actually, eventually I'm seeing that there's going to be some harmony between you guys. As you continue to do this in a loving way. And as you both individually and collectively both, really step into that self-love, right? Which is, going back into that, what, the purpose of your relationship with her is to practice self-love and for her to also learn that. So it's not only you learning this, it's also her. Y'all are a reflection to each other. And so as you do this, you are going to bring harmony with each other, but you have to your job is to not let the programming take over your relationship. So like your job is to stay grounded in your heart and to speak to her from a very powerful place, which is your heart, right? And disarm her, right? And say, listen, mom, like this is who I am, and I love you, and this is how, and I want to, right, create this opportunity with you, right? And so, but staying always centered in your heart, knowing that, again, this energy that she's been, throwing out at you is just, it's coming from, again, it's not coming from her heart, it's coming from programming. It's programming. And so when you see that it's coming from up here, from the perceptions that have been, implanted in her mind, you can slowly start, kind of bringing in seeds, sowing in seeds to let her question these programs, right? Because you can see beyond. So you can bring that in, and in turn, that brings liberation for her. Like it brings liberation for her, and it brings so much of your power in, because you're still claiming your power, you're still sharing your truth. But I see here that the energy, the energy of harmony is there. It wants to express. It's just a matter of just going through that process of self reflection and self love, right? And that's not going to be that's not an immediate thing, right? It's a journey. So you're kind of like in this beautiful journey with her to learn how to do this together, which is so powerful. And I'm getting the message of generational, generational patterns, generational curses, all of these things that have been, present, even before you, way before you and her, that have been just there. And I'm getting the message of liberation too. I keep getting the message of liberation. So you're going through that process right now. And so just be patient with yourself, and of course with her, knowing that she is, again immersed in that illusion, in that programming. And so yeah, and the way that you bypass the programming, I've done this too in my own life with my mom. The way that I've bypassed that is by telling her, and of course when I'm emotionally regulated. If I'm not emotionally regulated, it's a little harder, but when I'm emotionally regulated, I'm able to do that. I'm able to drop into my heart and just speak from my heart to my mom, and I bypass all of the program, and it just goes directly to her heart. It's incredible. It's incredible when we do that. And so that would be my I guess my recommendation for you. And so that was beautiful. And so I am complete. Disconnecting now. Thank you, Spirit. Yes, I know. You're so welcome. And yeah, the essence of the rose. Also, if you want to use the rose to help you bring into your heart, that's what I brought in. I brought in the essence of the rose and put it on. Maybe you can do that too for yourself, or get some rose water and put it on your hands, smell it before you speak to her, you know, and that could potentially help you as well. All right. So we're going to call it a day now, y'all. Okay. And I am disconnecting for now. I will see you next week. I will be live at noon with um, J. Cole. He is an astrologer, and he's going to be teaching us about astrology. If you follow me on Instagram, I share a lot of his stuff on my Instagram, and I freaking love him, and he's amazing. And I can't wait to bring his energy, weave in that beautiful energy of his. Today, I was going to have my teacher come in and speak about, my SRT teacher was going to come in and speak about ancestral healing. But she had something come up, so she's gonna come in the last Thursday of the month. So definitely make sure that you come in the last Thursday of the month, because it's gonna be amazing, and she's gonna be doing a clearing for us, and it's gonna be amazing. I can't wait. I think it's the 29th of June. So make sure that y'all connect to that. And so 222, y'all. Yes, I love it. So I love you all. I'm sending you all my love. I'll see you on Monday on Instagram at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And yeah, I'm going to now tap out, and so much love. I love you all. Thank you.